Hi guys, I'm Adam Wilborn from WhatCulture.
And I'm Andy Murray from WhatCulture, and coming up today we're going to tell you the latest on the Drew Gulak situation, which may not actually be over, and also somebody better call Michaela Strachan because WWE Raw is about to get really wild with the hammer throwing segment.
Nice. Also, it all kicked off on Twitter over the weekend. Two wrestlers getting in a huge spat. And the 8th participant in AEW Double or Nothing's Casino Ladder Match has been announced. This is the news.
I said hammer throwing in the intro there. It's an axe throwing segment, but we're not going to do a retake. We've already done one of those today, and it was also my fault. So let's kick things off by talking about Drew Gulak. This is a weird situation, right? We learned over the weekend that Drew Gulak and WWE had parted ways. This came just 24 hours after Gulak had wrestled on SmackDown. He was defeated by Daniel Bryan in another cracking match between the two as part of their ongoing storyline. It was reported that this was due to a pay dispute. Gulak wanted a pay rise. WWE, as we've learned from Dave Meltzer in recent days, aren't giving out pay rises at the moment. That has held up Rey Mysterio as well. So they've gone their separate ways. Gulak is no longer a WWE wrestler at the time of recording. However, according to Dave Meltzer, in today's Figure 4 Online Daily Update, yesterday's Figure 4 Online Daily Update, the situation is not over. While the belief within WWE at the moment is that Gulak is gone, Meltzer says that he has been hinted that the situation is not quote-unquote a dead issue. Suggests to me that negotiations are still going on, particularly as Meltzer goes on to say that Gulak is still being represented by Barry Bloom, who is something of a pro wrestling super agent, represented guys like Brock Lesnar in the past. Sounds to me like we could get more from Gulak in WWE, maybe. Pro wrestling economy is very difficult at the moment. Other companies aren't throwing money around either. It's a really awful time to be let go from your employers, but Gulak's a really talented guy, tremendous wrestler. You know, maybe the Bryan partnership, maybe that was his ceiling in WWE, but I think he showed himself to be a really adaptable and endearing entertainer in WWE as well, something that a lot of people might not have seen coming from him. So I think under normal circumstances, he'd waltz in to most rosters in pro wrestling. Difficult right now. Adam Wilborn, what do you think?
It was a surreal announcement over the weekend. I mean, the dust has barely settled from all of the Black Wednesday releases, and, you know, we've been drip-fed some more. Rachel Ellering, of course, most recently. But when I saw someone tweet me over the weekend saying, where do you reckon Drew Gulak's going to end up next? I thought, what do you mean? He's in WWE, isn't he? But then, of course, as you said, both parties have let his contract expire, rather than this being a straight-up firing. I'm intrigued by all this because, on the one hand, just to play devil's advocate here, WWE, you know, they are in a difficult situation right now. They obviously have, you know, decided how they're going to handle all this. They don't want to give anyone any pay rises because they don't want to promise things that in this uncertain world we live in right now, and certainly with the economy only heading seemingly in one direction, they don't want to overcommit themselves and then have to cut the legs out from underneath even more wrestlers. But on the other hand, I think Drew Gulak is a phenomenal wrestler. I think he is someone who can do big things wherever he ends up. He'd be great in somewhere like the NWA. But I can see him eventually re-signing with WWE. This may be a ploy from WWE to say, look, where else are you going to go right now? And you can't... Well, and actually he could, because he's not got a 90-day no-compete clause, of course, because his contract expired. So he could end up in AEW in theory. But... I sense he's probably going to re-sign. There'll be a bit of haggling, and hopefully they'll meet sort of halfway on this pay rise, because I love Drew Gulak. I love his characters, I should say, because like PowerPoint Drew Gulak was a sensation for me. Yeah. So hopefully they can sort this out, because I love him in WWE, and I love his partnership with Daniel Bryan, and maybe this can be utilised in storyline if he eventually decides to turn on Bryan. By saying, where were you when I was sort of out of my arse, basically.
Yeah, Gulak's been really good at everything they've asked him to do. He was good as a jobber, getting killed by Brock and dudes on Raw, on SmackDown towards the end of last year. He was really good with the PowerPoints, just doing wacky stuff, having fun, having a laugh. And he was also really good at being just this hard-nosed, technical Philadelphia stretcher when he was Cruiserweight champion. Almost called him NWA champion there. He's just an adaptable, really useful guy to have around. A guy I like a lot, and whatever happens next, I just hope he gets paid, baby.
Exactly. Best of luck to him, but Yeah, I sense this is not the last we've heard of Drew Gulak in WWE going forward. Right, let's talk next about Lio Rush. You may have seen this kicking off on Twitter all over the weekend. It started, this beef between Lio Rush and Mark Henry, with a TMZ interview that Mark Henry did. Because he said he was considering a defamation lawsuit against Lio Rush, who had accused Mark Henry of harming African-American wrestlers' WWE careers. He said he went out of his way in the past to help Leo's own WWE run, shooting down this tweet from Lio Rush, who on May 14th said, "And this is why African-American talent on the biggest platform will continue to not have equal opportunity, because people like you constantly tear your own people down. A damn shame, honestly." Basically, that continued over the weekend. Henry said he talked to Rush. He talked WWE out of firing Rush back in 2019. But he said he wouldn't speak to the 25-year-old again unless he apologised. Lio then claimed that he tried to call Busted Open Radio, but his phone line didn't work. And Rush has since tweeted about potentially filing his own defamation lawsuit against Mark Henry. Just speak up at the back if you're not keeping up with this, saying, "Couldn't I just do the same for publicly deframing my name on national radio? Mark Henry, come on, man. You're going out sad. You deserve to be remembered for the greatest heel turn ever, not for threatening to sue a 25-year-old in the middle of a pandemic." Now, as two white men, Andy Murray, I feel like we're in a perfect position to give our opinion on this.
Yeah, and as two white men sitting on the internet in the United Kingdom, that's, of course, why we're not going to do that, because, of course, if anyone didn't pick up on the sarcasm, we're not in a position to do that. This is just an ugly situation. Two guys kind of bickering back and forth across various platforms. This has happened before. They've traded barbs previously when Rush was having his issues with the company in 2019. I don't think this will ever see a courtroom, to be honest. It kind of sounds like, these are just possibilities that are being bandied around and so forth. It's a shame when stuff like this happens, when trigger fingers turn to Twitter fingers in the name of the late rapper Drake, who was brutally murdered by Pusha T the other year. But, it is what it is. I love Lio Rush. I love Mark Henry. The Hall of Pain, as Leo points out, one of the greatest heel runs of all time, I think. And the salmon jacket promo as well, one of my favourite promos of all time. I just hate seeing people I like kind of going at each other, man. Can we not all just be happier? I don't know what I'm trying to say here.
No, I get it. You don't want to pick sides in an argument like this. Mark Henry is a legend of WWE, and Lio Rush is someone who we've mentioned on numerous occasions here at WhatCulture. We are huge fans of. He is not just phenomenally talented in the ring, obviously. He was a fantastic mouthpiece for Bobby Lashley. He's just brilliant. He has all these side projects, of course, that he's working on right now. All that I'd like to see is him eventually get back to wrestling, because he's so talented. And let's just leave the beef behind, shall we?
Yeah, here's hoping that whatever issue they have, they are able to resolve in an amicable manner. Let's talk about resolving issues. You want to know what's a really weird way to resolve your issues with someone you're feuding with when you're a professional wrestling tag team badass couple of dudes? An axe throwing competition. Yeah, that's going down on tonight's episode of Raw. WWE have announced it. It's the Viking Raiders. It's the Street Profits. They're going to throw axes at stuff. This comes on the back of them playing basketball on Raw last week. What's going on? What is this even professional wrestling anymore? Are they ever going to have a normal match again? Are we going to see a title fight between the two after the Vikings beat the Street Profits a couple of weeks ago? Adam Wilborn, what the hell is going on? And when are we going to see a mead drinking contest? Because that's what I really want.
Well, I have to say, I have done a complete 180 on this angle. Ahead of last week's Monday Night Raw, and I'm fairly certain if you check the tape, I was fairly brutal with what I thought ahead of a basketball match on Monday Night Raw between the number one contenders and the Raw Tag Team Champions, two of the most talented teams that WWE have got on their roster. And I was just like, what is all this bollocks? And then I watched Raw, watch what they did with it. And I thought, and I don't know whether it's just because my whole perception of what wrestling is in 2020 has shifted because of the current situation. Or the fact that, as Sidgwick seems to constantly point out, and I think it's become something that I completely agree with now, that they just need some more variety on these wrestling shows. You see it, with like the Newly Bros show on NXT, was just such a refreshing taste of something other than just wrestling match, promo, whatever. That I just really like this now. And I'm excited to see what they do with it, and I hope this is something that goes forward. Obviously, this should end up in just a regular wrestling match between the four men, but we've already sort of seen that. We had the match on Raw, 2 weeks ago, which we thought was setting up the match at Money in the Bank, because it was like, oh, okay, well, they beat them, so then you have the match at Money in the Bank for the titles, but then they've gone in this completely other direction, and I want them to do a million different, challenges, where it turns out, as the Viking Raiders have pointed out, they're better than the Street Profits at all of them. They're just like, Ivar's just like Mr. Perfect with everything. I can't wait. My prediction is the Street Profits are going to do well, chucking axes sort of vaguely near the centre of the target. And then the Viking Raiders are going to do crap and then go, we let you win because as we pointed out, we're better than you and we know it, to steal a phrase from MJF. And they throw one axe and it hits right in the bullseye. And they throw a second axe and it hits the back of the first axe. That's my prediction for tonight.
There you go. You'd love to see it. Let us know in the comment section what kind of wacky contests you want to see these teams go down in. They're fun, man. I think if you let yourself get bent out of shape thinking about the intricacies of bookings and not being serious enough at this time, then you're going to drive yourself around the goddamn bend, man. Just relax, enjoy the weird crap while it's here, and then we'll get back to serious stuff eventually, man. Let's just be weird for a while, eh?
As one of mine and Andy's favourite bands always said, Queens of the Stone Age, just go with the flow. Just go with it. Just go with it. Right, let's move on and talk about the, bloody hell, Casino ladder match. My brain fights me every time I go to say this because of just the history of saying Casino Battle Royal and Money in the Bank ladder match, which the words are similar, so my brain won't let me say it, so I have to pause each time. But yes, Double or Nothing, of course, this Saturday we're going to be doing a live stream reacting to it, so make sure you join us for that. But the 8th person has been added to that ladder match, and it is someone I predicted, Luchasaurus. Luchasaurus joins Darby Allin, Colt Cabana, Orange Cassidy, Rey Fenix, Scorpio Sky, and Frankie Kazarian, interestingly, and Kip Sabian, 8th official participant in that match. One more still to be announced. Andy Murray, your reaction to this news and your prediction for the final participant to be included.
I think it's great. I love Luchasaurus, and I know he slowed down a little bit, before the empty arena era. Looked like he was maybe struggling with an injury, but he's back. He's looking awesome. It's cool to have a monster in these things just to kind of give you something different and give you a change of pace. And it's a varied field so far with Orange Cassidy and all these other dudes kind of fanning around. Rey Fenix is going to do something mental. Darby Allin is going to do a coffin drop off a ladder onto another ladder that someone's going to flip off. It's going to be great. I love these crazy matches. As far as a winner goes, man, and a 9th entrant. The 9th entrant could be, I'd love it to be Pac somehow, but...
Oh, I didn't think of that.
Yeah, but the thing is, it probably can't be because he's stuck in the UK, and, that's a boring way to eliminate him. But that would be awesome. Pentagon might be a shout. Either way, I think Orange Cassidy's going to win this, I think the prospect of having him and Jon Moxley main eventing an episode of Dynamite a la the Pac match at Revolution is just too much fun to pass up, and I think it's happening.
Now, you and I have not got a great track record with predicting ladder matches. I do believe that when we were talking about the women's ladder match, I went with Shayna Baszler, you went with Nia Jax, and Asuka won it. So if you're going to have Orange Cassidy, I'm going to go fairly obvious. I'm going to say Darby Allin. Shall we have a pasty bet?
Shake hands through the
My
lens.
final prediction for the final contestant. I've seen Cedric guest Joey Janela, which I think is a very, very good shout. Seeing as he's taken that one. Jimmy Havoc, just so him and Kip Sabian can just sort of feud with, I don't know, Scorpio Sky and Frankie Kazarian. And, Jimmy Havoc, as we know from his time in WCPW and Defiant Wrestling, is no stranger to a horrific violence. Yeah. So, I'm in for that. But, yeah, Pac, oh my God, Pac. It's one of those things again, Andy, just like this Stadium Stampede match, I've now started thinking of things in my head that if it doesn't happen, I'm going to be angry and it's only my fault. Right, let's move on to your Twitter questions at WhatCulture WWE, of course, if you want to get in touch with us. First question today comes from Jake, who says, do you think that with Gronk holding the 24/7 championship and the fact that he can't really wrestle, that WWE should take the opportunity to just let the belt fade away as a way of retiring it?
The situation with the 24/7 title kind of sucks at the moment because this is the period of time when you could really use that thing to have just some wacky crap. Like we've spoken about there, the variety of content, you need to switch things up and have different stuff going on. You can do all kinds of crazy stuff with the 24/7 title away from buildings and in hotels and in quarantine and stuff. That it's a shame that Gronk isn't there, or like the belt isn't there at the moment. So I actually think this would probably be the worst possible time to cancel it. However, they may not have a choice if Gronkowski isn't going to be able to come back and defend it.
I don't think they should retire it whatsoever. I completely agree. I think what they need is a defined, small, creative team who can work with the wrestlers who bring them ideas to come up with genuinely entertaining stuff like they did with R-Truth, like they did with Jinder Mahal, and like they did, of course, with Drake Maverick. So they should absolutely bring it back. I don't know whether WWE are holding out that they're going to be able to try and pin Gronk in pre-season training. I don't see Tampa Bay allowing that. They're going to have to wait till he's like out, and they're probably, in my opinion, going to have like R-Truth roll him up when he's signing autographs or something, because that kind of looks good on all parties. They teased, of course, R-Truth trying to get that championship back at Money in the Bank. Yes, because he was convinced he'd just beaten MVP after being destroyed by Bobby Lashley. So yeah, bring it back. Get it off Gronk ASAP. Do some funny skits to just pepper around Raw, SmackDown, even NXT for me. Just a bit of light relief, as I said. And for God's sake, get the inaugural champion back in the mix as well, because Titus Worldwide deserves another title reign. Speaking of another title reign, best of luck to Billy Bloody Kay, Peyton Bloody Royce, the Bloody Iconics, going for the bloody tag titles tonight. Bring them home, girls. Right, second question today comes from Parth Satterwayne, who says, Edge won at WrestleMania. If Randy Orton wins at Backlash, then when crowds are back, probably at SummerSlam, could we see a 3 stages of hell match between these two to finish the rivalry? Is this, Andy Murray, this is the reason why I picked this question, is this the way you salvage the Edge-Randy Orton rivalry, which is obviously phenomenal heading into WrestleMania, then a snooze fest, and now they are reheating it?
Seems to me like the route they might go. 3 stages of hell would make sense as the third and final match in the feud. I think that's a perfectly logical and reasonable thing, and I would now expect them to do that. The trouble is, man, Randy Orton is one of the best in the world at selling a match in the promos and the build-up and stuff and talking you into it, but when the bell rings, man, and it goes longer than like 12 minutes, it's kind of a snooze fest, brothers. So I don't know how much faith I would have in them delivering the 3 stages of hell match, particularly after the WrestleMania thing, which I personally really did not like. I know a lot of you did. Fair enough, different tastes. But, you know, I think your idea might well be what they go with. That's a good suggestion.
Yeah, I think Parth hit the nail on the head with that one. I think that could salvage it in my eyes, even if, as we were pointing out before we started recording this news, with Simon Miller doing his count up, it's probably going to be a roll-up from Randy Orton in their good old wrestling match at Backlash in a few weeks' time, of course. Final question today comes from Brother Phil, who says, with so many options for current fans, the future of the wrestling industry looks bright with various brands and highly talented wrestlers. You can see where this is going. Will the emergence of the new hardcore toxic fandoms hold back the reach to new fans? I love this question.
So a really good question. I think it applies to anything, though, right? Like, there's a lot of annoying people on social media who are playing team sports and shooting each other down, and my side is great and your side sucks, and if you disagree, you're biased, or you're a word that, you know, whatever. There's a lot of bad buggers out there is what we're trying to say. Does that put people off? Well, I think it puts people off in every single thing in the world, in comics, in movies, in sports. I think it's a problem that afflicts everything. I think it's a sign of just where discourse has gone now that we communicate almost exclusively in 280 characters on Twitter, and, you know, dunk culture is a thing, and we're just sniping at each other, and in-depth debate and logical reasoning and accepting that you have different opinions. It's all falling apart. arguing on Twitter, for example, is just a big sack of crap, and if you do it, man, you need to just step away, brother. I've gone completely off the rails here, but yes, I do think it does, but I think it does that in everything.
Yeah, I think we're right. We're not just going to start shooting on wrestling fans on Twitter because they are by no means the most regular offenders or even the worst offenders. It just does seem to happen more and more in the current era, as you say there, Andy. I think this is personified by the whole AEW versus NXT thing. We seem to talk about this every single week. I suppose because I constantly, stupidly click on Brian Alvarez's numbers tweet after AEW and NXT and just see people fighting. And just won't somebody think of the children, right?
Yeah.
You can enjoy both shows. You can be a bigger fan of one show and a lesser fan of another show. That's the whole reason we have the Wednesday Night War podcast. And Sige is more AEW and Hamlet is more NXT. But they both have the ability to say, you know what? Hands up, this show was better, even though generally I prefer this show, right? But just stop preventing anyone. If someone says, you know what, I'm kind of getting back into WWE, don't go, well, you shouldn't watch that, you should watch AEW. What you say is, oh, great, well, if you enjoy that, tell you what you'd like as well, AEW. Because this is no longer, it's not the Monday Night Wars. It's not going to be the fact that they're going to suddenly stop broadcasting either AEW or NXT because the numbers are slightly better or worse than their opposition. Because that's not how wrestling works nowadays. DVR numbers, etc., etc. Watch one live, watch one delayed. Or as I do, just watch both on delay, one after the other. Some mornings I'll wake up and watch AEW first. Some mornings I'll wake up and watch NXT first. But guess what? I enjoy both shows. So please just let people enjoy what they enjoy.
Yeah, just don't be a dick is what it always comes down to. Like the Brian Alvarez tweet every week, all Brian Alvarez does is tweet a number, 2 numbers, and there's people going, you're biased. It's a number, we're going on and on and on.
Yeah.
Don't be a dick.
Yeah, we spent 5 minutes there saying something which you summed up in about a second by just going, just don't be a dick. There you go. Right, let's move on to today's and finally, and a massive shout out to Xavier Woods on Twitter, who's just killed the game with this. Adam Cole last night tweeted with some phenomenal, to be fair, achievements. I'm the longest reigning PWG World Champion, the only 3-time ROH World Champion, and now the longest reigning NXT Champion. Say hello to the leader of this generation. To which Xavier Woods replied, I mean, that's incredibly, Jesus, that's impressive, but have you ever won the TNA and the WWE tag titles without even being in the match? Hashtag work smarter, not harder.
A philosophy that serves everyone well. Saw this morning, popped my little baldy head off. Good stuff.
Great work, Xavier Woods, and by God, I can't wait till he gets back.
Hell yeah.
Oh, I miss that guy. So good. Right, let us know your thoughts on that and all today's news stories in the comments section below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And subscribe to WhatCulture Wrestling on either iTunes, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts from for daily wrestling podcasts. And today, live 4 p.m. BST here on YouTube, myself and the Dadley Boys will be previewing Monday Night Raw, including that axe-throwing contest. And answering all your burning wrestling questions and dealing with any breaking news. So join us 4 p.m. for that. Plus, you can let us know your thoughts and Twitter questions on Twitter at WhatCultureWWE. And whilst you're there, follow both of us. You can follow Andy at
Andy H. Murray. The H stands for Hall of Pain. Seems appropriate.
Exactly. You can follow me at Adam Wilborn. Follow us all at WhatCultureWWE. But for now, my thanks to Andy Murray. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you soon.